This video is going to go over some of the questions for the exercise on Khan Academy with the title Area of a Sector. And this exercise was assigned to you on week 3 of distance learning. So let's go ahead and read the problem and find out what we're supposed to do. First, it says a circle with radius 5 has a sector with a central angle of 9/10 pi radians. What is the area of the sector? So what I've done here on the right side of my screen is set up a ratio. On the left side, I am putting everything that's relating to area, where the area of the sector is in the numerator and the area of a circle is in the denominator. On the right side of my equation, I have the ratio of radians of a sector over radians of circle. And you should be able to notice that in the numerator, we're talking about the sector, so only this part right here shaded in light green. And in the denominator, we're talking about the whole circle. All right, let's look at what we can plug in. Well, first I see that we are looking for the area of the sector, which means that area of the sector will be x. Another thing that we are given is the radians of the sector. So right here it's telling us that this whole sector is 9/10 pi. So I'm going to put it right here in the numerator. Let's see, hopefully we can make it fit. 9/10 pi. Okay. Now the other pieces of information here are not given to us explicitly, but it is something that we can definitely find. And I know that I have to fill those in because if we're looking for the area of the sector, every other piece of this ratio, of this equation must be filled in for us to be able to find x. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of side work. I'm going to go ahead and find the area of the circle right here. Now the area of any circle can be found by this formula, pi r squared. Now if you look closely at the given, we are actually given the radius, which means we will be able to find the exact area of the entire circle. So let's go ahead and plug in. We still have our pi, and our radius again is given to us as 5, and we're going to square that. Now simplifying further, 5 squared is going to equal 25 because that's 5 times 5. So the area of this circle is 25 pi. And this number is what I'm going to put as my area of the circle in the denominator right here, 25 pi. Now the last piece of information we have to look for is the radians of the circle. Well, for any circle, there is always 2 pi radians. Always 2 pi radians. All right. Now, from this point on, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify this right side of my fraction real quick. I see that there is a fraction as a numerator, and I want to be able to simplify that before doing anything else. So I'm not going to touch this yellow side. I'm going to just simply copy it exactly. X over 25 pi. Again, nothing has been done. We're not touching it right now because what I wanted to do is to simplify this. Now to simplify a fraction in a fraction, the easiest way to go about this is if you make your denominator also a fraction. So right now instead of 2 pi, I'm going to make this 2 pi over 1 because anything over 1 just retains its value. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to copy this numerator. I'm going to make it 9 pi over 10. and I am going to multiply to that the reciprocal of the denominator. In this case is 1 over 2 pi. So what we did with the denominator, I want to make that a little bit better. 2 pi. Good enough. So what I did again with the denominator is I just flipped. The 1 became the numerator, and then the 2 pi became the denominator. So now that it's a little bit more simple, I'm going to just multiply across. Our next line then, again, we are not going to touch this just yet. This is going to be the same, x over 25 pi. And that is equal to whatever product we have here. So numerator times numerator is going to be 9 pi. Before I actually do that, I just noticed something. What am I pointing at here? I'm noticing that pi exists both in the numerator and denominator. And I'm just going to cancel that out just to make it as simple as we possibly can. So now we only have 9 times 1, and then our numerator will have 9. And then our denominator is 10 times 2, which is 20. Okay? Now, believe it or not, this weird fraction over here, this ratio over here is actually the same exact thing as this ratio. All we did was simplify this weird looking fraction. So now that it's looking a little bit more manageable, I can now focus all my attention to finding x. Now currently what I see is that x is being divided by 25 pi. So the first step I'm going to do is, because I wanted to find x, I am going to multiply both sides by 25 pi. 25 pi. Keeping it even on the other side, 25 pi. Now what this allows me to do is that it allows me to cancel 25 pi with 25 pi, because it's just going to divide into 1. And on the left side of my equal sign, now I just have 1x, which is what we wanted. We wanted x to be by itself. Now on the right side of my equal sign, I am going to now multiply. Again, this is just the same as 25 over 1. Numerator times numerator. 9 times 25 is going to give us 225. 225 over 20. And don't forget, you still have that pi in the numerator. 225 pi over 20. Let's see if we can simplify that. 225 divided by 20 is simply going to give you 11.25 pi. Now the last thing I'm going to do, because the problem actually wants us to enter our answer as a decimal, rounded to the nearest hundredth, I am going to change this pi into 3.14 so that we can end up with a decimal. So again, I'm going to take away that pi. I'm going to make that times 3.14, because pi and 3.14 are the same. They are equivalent. Well, it's rounded, but you get the idea. We're going to multiply these two now. We're going to have 11.25 times 3.14, and that is going to give us 35.33 rounded to two decimal places, and that's going to be our final answer. 35.33. All right. In this next question, we are given a circle with area 36 pi, and it has a sector with central angle of 48 degrees. Okay, we are again being asked what the area of the sector is. Now what I've done here on the right side is, again, I've set up that ratio, but you might notice that instead of talking about radians, I am now talking about degrees. And that is because the given is in degrees. So you always want to make sure that you are matching up your units so that you are setting up the correct ratio to find your unknown. So I'm going to go ahead and set up that fraction, but without any values yet, so we can figure that out together. Oh my gosh. Ooh, that was a perfect line. Okay, let's see what we are given. We are given the area of the circle, which is 36 pi. So I am going to put that right here. Area of the circle. Okay. We are also given the degrees of the sector. Again, the sector just is talking about this lightly shaded green area. So we are given that the degrees of that is 48 degrees. Now we are being asked to find the area of the sector, which means area of the sector is going to be x. And just like we talked about earlier, the only way we can find x is if every other value here is filled in. Now we don't know yet what the degrees of the circle is, but if you think about it, any circle will always have a total of 360 degrees. So that's what I'm going to put right here in my denominator, 360. All right. Now let's go ahead and figure out what x is. Currently, it is being divided by 36 pi. Again, we want to do opposite operations, so we're going to multiply 36 pi. And to keep our equation balanced, I'm going to do that same thing on the right side. Okay, now what happens now? What happens is that 36 pi and 36 pi, they divide into 1, so it cancels out. We're going to have 1x, or simply x, being equal to whatever product results from this. Now remember, 36 pi is the same as 36 over 1. So for us to be able to multiply these two quantities together, we're just going to multiply numerator times numerator and then denominator times denominator. So let's tackle the numerator first. We've got 48 times 36, and that is going to give us 1,728. And don't forget that we've got pi there. And in the denominator, we're going to multiply 360 times 1, which is just 360. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to simplify further. Let's divide these numbers to each other. So we're going to have x equals the quotient of 1728 divided by 360 is 4.8. So it's going to be equal to 4.8 pi. Okay. Now, if I wanted your answer to have pi in it, this will be a completely acceptable response. However, for this specific problem on Khan Academy, it says enter your answer as a decimal, rounded to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to do the same thing as what we did earlier. Remember, pi is just equal to 3.14. What we're going to do is we're going to take away this pi, and we're going to replace it with 3.14. So I'm going to erase that. And I am going to take its place with 3.14. Okay. Now the resulting product here will be our x. And remember, they want us to round to the nearest hundredth. So let's go ahead and multiply. 4.8 times 3.14 is going to give us, rounded to the nearest hundredth, 15.07. 15.07. And we'll take that as our final answer.